I'm not an Eisai expert here, but I mean, I think the upside is clearly still very, very strong. It's not a defensive play. You're right, traditionally, but this is turning into a growth play because this is something that we haven't seen coming from Japan in literally one generation, which is an innovative strategy that actually delivers because of unique intellectual property. Now, if Eisai's management team can get the sales effort going, the global sales platform, then we've got something that we haven't seen in a while, which is a made in Japan global blockbuster.
Global blockbuster coming out of Japan. That's quite the tagline. Jesper, I do want to get your thoughts in. You've stated in your notes that old Japan is doing new tricks. How do you play that theme?
Look, I mean, again, I think the big development here in Japan is the generational change. You find that the average listed company CEO, 5 years ago, the average age was in their early 70s. Now it's in their early 50s. That's a huge change. So you've got, new, younger leaders, in charge of old Japan. They want to build legacy. They are not burdened by oh my God, the collapse of the bubble economy. What are we going to do? These are a young generation of leaders now in charge of Daikin, in charge of IHI, in charge of NTT. These are new leaders that actually want to build a legacy by growing the company, not just by playing defensive.
Before we get into some of your picks, I wanted to ask, because I've been asking everyone that's been coming on our programming today this question about what we got out of Finance Minister Suzuki yesterday and the suggestion that they could be looking at potentially buying they're trying to work out how they could do this, buy the ETFs that are being held by the BOJ at book value and then use those finances to take the theme of generational to help the younger generation to redistribute that wealth. Do you think this is likely? Is this something that's actually got legs?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. I mean, I actually made a proposal, 5 years ago that the swap from the Bank of Japan into household sector assets is the right way to go. The key point is the following, is that, under the new leadership of the Bank of Japan, under the leadership of Prime Minister Kishida, there is a recognition, that the Bank of Japan should not be holding those ETFs. They should not be invested in the stock market. How do we transfer that into where the money is, which is Mr. and Mrs. Watanabe, and thereby actually introduce positive gearing and positive wealth effect if and when the stock market goes up? That debate is now open in Japan. Constructive measures are being discussed. And I do think that we're going to get a solution that is not going to force indigestion in the stock market, because that's the big worry. The big worry is, oh my God, the Bank of Japan owns about 6, 7, 8% of the stock market. If they're going to start selling, then that's going to put downward pressure on prices. If it is a swap engineered into the pockets of Mr. and Mrs. Watanabe, then it becomes a win-win situation, and we don't have to worry about indigestion. We actually should worry about positive wealth effect gaining for Mr. and Mrs. Watanabe.